Well, for me, the story about sibling separation and the role of sibling relationships and identity goes back to when I worked in practice with a 14-year-old boy. He'd been placed in one unit, but he had two siblings. He had a younger brother and a younger sister, and they were both placed in different places. And in terms of organising, for example, family contact and maintaining those relationships with both the mother and the three siblings, I can guarantee you that at no point in the 1 year that I worked with this young man did we manage to get mother and the three children together as a group. Yes, in pairs, in different configurations, but together for a day as a group, never. This young man, and we can have a different discussion about children taking on too much responsibility for looking after siblings, but at the end of the day, that young man, who was 14 by this point, he said to me one day, "I hate this department," and you can imagine, he said it in slightly more colloquial language, colourful language. "I hate this department. You took everything from me. I was looking after my brother and my sister, and now I never see them, and you took that away from me." That was his identity. It's a different discussion about whether he should have had those responsibilities as a young man of 12, 13, 14 years. But the system, took that away from him. And I've stood against sibling separation in alternative care quite vehemently ever since. And that's a story from 18 years ago. So yeah, and of course, I think in terms of not just the practicalities as I've described, the difficulties of getting workers together, getting timings together, when you've got children placed in diverse parts of a city. Surely at the end of the day, when children are facing the trauma and distress of being separated from their parents, why does anyone think it a good idea, let alone serving the best interests of the children, to have them separated and further fracture that family identity, that sense of family unity? When in fact, of course, as we see in a lot of the research we do, and of course with the Day of General Discussion coming shortly on alternative care and children's rights, we see that children's voices talk all the time about not separating siblings. That siblings, as one young man in the papers put, "My sibling anchored me." They can anchor each other. And another young man pointed out that his younger brother was having a great deal of behavioural problems when they were first put into alternative care. And he was begging to be placed with his older brother because the younger brother didn't recognise the authority of the people who were in charge of him or looking after him. But the older brother's insistence was that if he's with me, I can tell him when to stop, tell him to back down, take control a little bit, but also provide comfort because we are family. And that's identity for me in that context.